Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and it was an honor to serve as the White House photographer for 8 years for President George W. Bush. It all began for me in the spring of 1999. I was an Associated Press photographer, and by the way, I'm going to do a little slideshow as I go here, and oh, there we go. And this was just an assignment from the Associated Press. It was to cover Governor George W. Bush of Texas. Little did I know it would lead me to the White House. And for me, it was like, you know, the chief White House photographer, a black kid from South Central LA, could I do that job? And the answer is yes. And after that assignment, after the Florida recount, I saw a window of opportunity to actually ask for the job. And that opportunity came late December when the president-elect was invited staff and journalists who covered the campaign to Austin, Texas. So what I decided to do was take a page out of the president's playbook. He would always say to voters, I'm going to look you in the eye and ask you for the job. I want to be your president. So that's what I did. I walked up to President-elect Bush with my wife coaching me on the sidelines to make my move. And I said, thank you for inviting us to the party. By the way, I want to be your personal photographer. And I didn't blink. And he looked at me and he said, I really appreciate that. I'll get back to you. And that was the longest handshake of my life, by the way. So my life, already extraordinary, in my opinion, was about to become remarkable. By the way, I'm the guy that's on the second from left there. You can't recognize me. So that's a younger version of me, a little younger, a little thinner. That photo was taken in 2006. But my job was really remarkable. And I'd like to take you back to the very first day. And this photo shows the 43rd president sitting down at the Oval Office desk for the very first time, the famous Resolute desk. And what I love about this photo is you have a proud father with his son sharing a moment, and then you have the history of the moment. You have two presidents sitting down for the very first time in the Oval Office, only the second son of a president to become president, the first being John Q. Adams. And then there's always the story behind the story. So you notice that cord coming from the wall? Well, that's a massage chair. And so President Bush is turning it on at the time this picture was taken, so that's why they're laughing. And by the way, that chair was gone the next morning. By the way, my office was in the basement of the West Wing, and it actually used to be the old barber shop. My desk sat in front of the original mirror, and I can be in the Oval Office in 12 seconds flat. I actually timed it one time. But of course, location is everything. I like to call this photo "Timing is Everything." President Bush was very timely, as a lot of us who've worked for him know. He usually started his meetings on time or early, typically early. So this is not an illustration of the relationship between the president and Mrs. Bush. Don't get me in trouble. This photo was taken inside Buckingham Palace. And the president and Mrs. Bush were guests of the Queen. And they're actually like kids on this night. I mean, they were walking around Buckingham Palace like, oh, come take your picture over here. And, you know, they really were enjoying themselves. And that's what this job gave me the opportunity to do, was to capture the personal side of the presidency. So 2 years later, this photo was taken in 2005. The president and Mrs. Bush hosted the Queen back at the White House for the first time in years. And then this is a situation when sometimes I got a little too close to the action. So the Queen had a South Lawn arrival, and then later that night they were preparing for the state dinner, and Mrs. Bush and the President decided to give the Queen and Prince Philip a tour of the residence. So there I am, you know, trying not to miss anything, and Mrs. Bush takes the Queen into the Queen's room, and I follow, and then I realize that I'm in the bathroom with the Queen. And once I realize that she's taking a break, I do an about face, and there's Prince Philip standing in front of me with a straight face, and he says, "Are you following them to the loo?"